Hi there, my name is Anatoly Berikov and I'm a 3D artist and designer with almost like 9 or 10 years of experience. And recently I decided to show a few techniques that I think that you might be interested in. And the first one would be about 3D type, like Gucci Maze, Digital Archive, you know, all the kind of stuff. I asked my partner Masha Dmitrova to help me with this is her Instagram, by the way, so you're welcome to subscribe if you're interested in. So I asked her to help me with a font shape, and she sent me this amazing letter. In order to get this shape right in Cinema4d, we need to be sure that we save it as Illustrator version 8. Save it, artboard version 8, letter 2 work with. Okay. Let's choose Illustrator version number 8. Okay. Okay. So let's open Cinema4d. Then let's just drag and drop our Illustrator file, just literally into Cinema4d, just like this. Okay, and voila, now we have this shape in Cinema4d. Okay, let's move it a bit to the center, like in 0 coordinates. I press here and go to coordinate tab, press right mouse button on those arrows to set those numbers as default, then lift it out a bit, just slightly below the ground, and then I'll create extrude object right here. Then I drag and drop the null object, put it inside extrude like this, and as you can see, there nothing has changed. It's because we have all our vector files, all our vector objects, they are contained from like a 3 different paths, like a 3 different objects, and in order to get extrude work with it, we need to go to extrude, object tab, press hierarchical, which means that extrude goes through all hierarchy and search for all possible objects to work with. Okay, cool. Okay, now it's working. Let's go back to extrude. Let's change the offset, basically the 3D depth of the object. Let's set it to 10 or something. In your case, it might be something different. It's up to you. Okay, let's go to 1. Okay, now we have this this shape. Let's change the caps. So let's go to caps tab, and here, as you can see, there's like a start cap, end cap, which stands for caps in the front and the back, respectively. Sorry. There are like a different bevel cap sizes, round, curve, and in terms of curve, you can make your own bevel, right? Nothing has changed. It's because we don't have enough segments to work with, so increase the segments, right? And as you can see, it affects our cap. So for our tutorial, we go for round. Let's change segments to 5 or something. I'll show you what does it mean if you don't know. Display, I'll press here, display, gauge shading lines, right? Just to show the polygons. And in extrude, by changing the segments, we are changing the amount of polygons for caps. Okay, let's stick for 5. Let's go back to display gauge shading. Okay, I think it works. So in the first part of the tutorial, I'll show you how to set it up in Octane render. I'll press here, Octane live viewer window. Then I'll press and hold on those 3 lines and drag and drop it somewhere here. Stick this window on the left. Then I'll press set scene to render. And as you can see, we're probably gonna have something like this. So basically now our scene lighted with a white environment, and we want to change it to set our own lighting, our own environment or HDRI. So in order to do it, I'll go here, objects, HDRI environment, and now we have it. It calls Octane Sky, and it has this Octane blue tag. Let's rename the object and call it HDRI. Press on that blue tag, then press on image texture, and here we need to choose the desirable HDRI. Press here. For this particular tutorial, I found out that probably the most workable solution would be those nice, amazing like HDRIs from Manhattan. I'll leave the link in description. So those maps, they have a lot of lights and they're all like colorful. So I think it works really well with this kind of aesthetics. So I think I'll go for this one. And as you can see, we immediately see the HDRI in our live viewer. The only thing we are lacking of is the proper material. So we go here, materials, create a glossy material. Now we have it here. Drag and drop on our object, on our extrude. Actually, let's rename it from extrude to letter. Double tap on Octane glossy material that we just have created. Now we open the material. Diffuse tab, which basically stands for the color. Change it from white to black. I'll go for pure black. Now we go to index tab. Index basically means the kind of index ratio of reflectivity. The higher value, the closer it to metal. Metal value starts around 3, I guess. For this tutorial, we'll go for 1, which stands for mirror. So now we have mirror material. Now we go to roughness tab, and the roughness basically stands for roughness, obviously. So the higher number, the more rough reflections you would see on the object. Let's go for something like this. I think one last thing to do is to set up the camera. So for the letters, words, or any, and especially logos, I found that the most workable solution, the camera with a long focal length, something around 18. So the reason for this is because when we have, actually let me choose the camera and press here to look from that camera. So by pressing here again, we are using like a default scene camera, and by pressing here again, we look through our camera that we just created. So for logos, letters, and all objects that almost kind of flat, it's always cool to have focal length something around 25 or 18. So wide lens camera. It's because these types of camera, they give us more perspective, and therefore we can see more information inside of the logo or the letter in our case. Just to show you, if I go for something around 120, the perspective goes away and we lose all nice details inside the logo, like inner parts. I'll go back to 18. Okay, nice. Now let's go to our HDRI object. Let's go to coordinate tab, and now we're gonna rotate our light and find something that works for us. So now we have this basic lighting, and to achieve a nice sleek look, we just need to add more speculars on the sides and on inner parts of this letter. And in order to do this, we just create lights manually. Go here, objects, lights, Octane area light. Now we have this light, and it immediately creates in 0 coordinates. So we need to shift it a bit, like move away from the logo. I'll go to my default camera and I'll press here. Well, now I'm looking from default camera. Take this light, press rotation, press R, which stands for rotation. Rotate the light, rotate it again, change the size. Press E, which stands for move tool. Put it here. Go back to our camera. Let's call it studio camera to make things more clear. Studio camera. Okay. Okay, now we need to get rid of all the light from live viewer. So we want to light work for us, but not to see it in the live viewer. So I press not on the light, but on this light tag. Press here, go to visibility tag, and uncheck camera visibility checkbox. Okay, so it's still in the scene and it light the object, but we can see it in the live viewer. Let's go to light settings in the same Octane light tag. Change the power from 100 to 1. And as you can see, there's also a temperature slider. It works real well, but the thing is that we are kind of restricted to just hot and cold lights. And for this tutorial, for this kind of look, we need something more interesting. So I'll press here, texture, plugins, Octane. So you would need to find basically Octane list. Basically all these things, all these nodes, they are Octane based, and you find their gradient. Okay, now we have created the gradient right here. Press on it again and press on linear. Basically by doing this, we create linear gradient. And yeah. Just to check that the direction of the light is right, I'll press on Octane light tag, go back to visibility, and just quickly check camera visibility. Okay, so as you can see, the gradient goes from left to right, and we want to go it from bottom to top. And I'm going to just rotate it like this. Okay, now it's go from bottom to top. Okay, let's go back and uncheck this camera visibility checkbox. Nice. Light settings in the same Octane light tag, gradient, and now we are free to set up our own color scheme. So for the metals and for this aesthetic, it's basically all about the gradients, all about the ramps. Let's move a bit closer. And what we want to achieve here is just nice transitions from different colors, from one color to another. We are free to even add more colors, so it's up to you. So now it's more about the designing stuff, and it's now more about your taste. Let's call this light backlight. Let's copy paste it. Press Ctrl, left mouse button, drag and drop. Call it left, not mouse, sorry. Left light. Press here to see our scene from default camera, not from our studio camera. I choose this left light mode here, rotate it a bit, and now we want to light the left part of the letter. Basically, during entire tutorial, during the rest of the tutorial, we're gonna just light up all our sides. Okay, left light. Press on Octane light tag, go to gradient, and here you are free to set up your old gradient one more time. So as you can see what I'm doing here, by setting up this gradient, I'm kind of lighting, almost drawing the specular on the letter, on the object. So now what we need to do is to light the front part of it. So one more time, I'll copy paste the light, rename it, call it front. Here to see from our default scene camera, rotate our latest light that we just have created, put it almost in front of the object, but slightly changing the rotation. Because for the metals, in most cases, you don't need to put them straight in the face, and most of the time there probably has to be at least some rotation to give it nice kind of reflection fading. Let's go back to our camera. In case if you wanna lock your camera position, you can create a protection tag on it. You need to press right mouse button, go to rigging tags, protection. Okay, so now I can't change rotation or position for this studio camera, which is really useful in order if you finally found a cool position for your logo, letter or object and you don't want to lose it. Okay, front light, go to our Octane light tag here, go to gradient, and one more time, just set up your own gradient. So these speculars, they are too detailed. Almost everywhere we have nice gradients, and those ones, they are too visible. They're a bit different compared to all other reflections on the object. We just go to our HDRI object and just rotate it a bit. So you don't want to have HDRI behind the object. You want to have solid color or just a black background. You can go to objects, create texture environment, and now we have texture environment. But the thing is that it lights all the scene. We press on this object tag, go to this line type, and choose from primary environment. Basically, it means that this object, this HDRI map, it lights the scene. And visible environment, it just basically means that it just something that you can see, but doesn't affect your scene in terms of lighting. So we go for visible environment. Okay, so we have see background, but it doesn't affect our object. Let's go here, RGB spectrum, which stands for color, and change it. Change the color from white to black. Okay, this is what we need. So I think it's a bit too messy right now. Maybe we can play one more time with our caps in our letter. Okay, I think it's better. Yeah, I think it's much better. So what I just did, initially we had this almost sharp caps, almost sharp bevels, and I just decreased the size in order to make it more flat with those nice smooth bevels on sides here. Okay, cool. I think it's much better. So by having this flat and semi-flat, semi-beveled caps, we give more space for our reflections. Let's change our front light. Go to front light, Octane light tag, press on gradient, and play around with the gradient itself. So now I'll go through all of my lights, and I'll try to find out which works best and which one of them doesn't work. So I'll turn them off. I'm just gonna check how each one of them affects the scene. So let's start with HDRI. I'll rotate it a bit one more time. Okay, now we are highlighting the bevels and the inner parts of the logo. Now I'll turn on the backlight again. I think it's too strong. Okay, cool. Let's turn on back again left light. Okay, cool. And front light. Okay, I think it's quite good. Maybe too much green. Gradient. Create one more color. Yeah, okay, much better. And what else? So let's just light this upper part and maybe highlight the right part of it. And in order to do so, we just one more time copy paste one of the lights, rename it, right light, nice. Go to our default scene camera, rotate the newest light, put it on the side, go back to our studio camera by pressing on this target, right light, press on the Octane light tag, and yeah, just change the colors. I think we're almost there. Let's try to highlight just a bit this upper part of the letter. So I'll copy right light, rename it to top light, press here on the target to go to my default camera, change position, change light position, almost opposite the upper part, like a logo upper part. This like a smooth curve on the top. Go back to our studio camera. I'll turn off all lights except the last one, just to see how this top light affects my object. Go to gradient in that top light here. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think it's cool. So, final touches. Let's create Octane camera tag. Press on the camera, right mouse button, Octane text, Octane camera tag. Most interesting tabs for you here would be camera imager post-processing. Post-processing, basically, if you turn it on, you can add bloom, sexy, and much more lux, and add glare power. I'm not gonna use it for this letter. I'm just gonna go to camera imager, turn it on, and here I'm interested in response tab. By default it's sRGB, but we can change it to one of those LUTs. Basically LUTs, they're like Instagram filters, and I'm just go through them by clicking on up and down arrows on my keyboard and just find something that I think works for this letter. Let's turn it off just to compare. See? Okay. And then now, as you can see, by default you probably would have something different, 800 by 600 aspect ratio for your image, for your render, and I'm gonna change it here by pressing on edit and render settings, sorry. Choose your render. In our case it's Octane render. Output, change it to, let's render it for Instagram, 2K. Frame range, current frame. Basically we are rendering only current frame. Save. Here you are free to choose where you want to put your image format. Let's go to PNG. 8-bit, let's change it to 16. If you press alpha channel, it wouldn't work because you need to, so in order to get transparency, you need press alpha channel here and go to Octane settings and change this thing, check it on alpha channel, and as you can see you would get the transparency. I'm not going to use it for this tutorial, so I'll leave it as default, by default. Okay, and one last thing is that you can go to settings. By default you have direct lighting rendering, which is fast, but sometimes it lacks of nice reflections. And if you are rendering metals or objects like this, maybe it's would be better to change it from direct lighting to path tracing. But don't forget to change the max samples from 16,000, which gonna take you hundreds of years to render, and change it to something like 256. But it's up to you. You just it depends on your computer and your GPU. Fuse depth 7, specular depth 7. Okay. Sometimes it depends on the how it looks and on the end result, because path tracing, you can in case of path tracing you would see more reflections, and in case of direct light there are some of them gonna disappear. So I think that this one it gives too much details, so I'm gonna stick to original direct lighting. Okay, and just press render.